Imagine a lush paradise built in the heart of the desert. So magnificent it was called the Stairway to Heaven, and yet, not a single trace of it remains. The Hanging Gardens of Babylon were once named an ancient wonder of the world, but today, there's no proof they ever existed. No ruins, no records, no foundation, nothing. So, was this ancient wonder just a myth? Or is there a secret buried in the sands of Iraq? Today, we uncover the hidden truth behind the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, a piece of lost history the world chose to forget. He was a king with the world at his feet, but his queen's heart remained far from him. Amytis, a princess from the Green Mountains of Media, felt trapped in Babylon's dry, lifeless desert. Each day, she longed for the hills, the scent of pine, the sound of leaves in the breeze. Nebuchadnezzar too saw the sorrow in her eyes and made a silent promise. He would recreate her homeland, not in words, but in stone, soil, and water to win back her smile. He would build the impossible. Engineers were summoned, sketches drawn, materials brought from distant lands that a structure like no other was imagined. Layered gardens rising high into the sky that a place where love would bloom above the sand. The vision was part palace, part paradise, an oasis in midair, stone by stone. A mountain of life began to take shape. Streams would flow upward, flowers would bloom downward. The queen still knew nothing. This was to be her surprise. Night after night, the king watched the progress from his tower. He wasn't building a monument. He was building memory. They called it the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, an ancient wonder born not from ambition, but from love. But love has a way of leaving behind questions no one can answer. The mystery starts here, a garden for a queen, a story buried in time. But what did history choose to forget, and what still survives in the sand? This was not just a garden. It was a mountain built by human hands. Each level had its own soil, trees, and flowing water, balanced with precision. No structure of its kind had ever existed before that hold such weight. The base was made of fired bricks and lead sheets. The terraces were stacked step by step, like a giant staircase of nature. Every level needed perfect calculation. One error, and the garden would collapse. Engineers used vaulted ceilings to reduce pressure and distribute weight. They designed columns to carry water pipes inside the structure. That IT was not only beautiful, it was mathematically brilliant. Above each level, there were walkways lined with flowering vines. From a distance, the garden looked like it was hanging in the air. That's how it got its legendary name. The true wonder was not in the plants. It was in the engineering. Each tree, each pond, each path sat on top of a complex grid. The blueprint was hundreds of years ahead of its time. Historians still debate how it was even possible. Some say the design was copied by later civilizations. Others believe it was lost before it could be copied. What we do know is this: the Hanging Gardens of Babylon were not random beauty. They were precision. They were design. They were intention in every inch. Water in a desert is life, and this garden needed rivers in the sky. The biggest mystery of the Hanging Gardens of Babylon is not what was built, but how it survived. Babylon had no nearby mountain streams, no rainfall to feed this paradise. That's why Nebuchadnezzar's engineers created something revolutionary, a chain pulley system, powered by human labor, lifted water from the Euphrates. Clay buckets would spin upward, pouring water into stone channels. These channels were designed with slope, precision, allowing flow across each terrace. Water moved like veins, upward, sideways, downward, feeding every root. This was engineering centuries ahead of Rome's aqueducts. Every drop was controlled. Overflow had drains. Ponds reflected sunlight, while reservoirs held backup for dry weeks. Even evaporation was measured and managed. The engineers calculated sun angles, wind flow, and soil absorption. Plants were grouped based on water needs. Palm near pond, cypress on the edge. IT wasn't just irrigation. It was ecosystem design. Many believe this was the earliest known use of water recycling in architecture. Some techniques were rediscovered only in modern times. This wasn't just water, it was power over nature. The Hanging Gardens of Babylon weren't just built. They were sustained, drop by drop, layer by layer. The science behind this ancient wonder remains unmatched. Babylon was never meant to be green. It was heat, dust, and endless dry winds. The city sat in the middle of a desert, where the sun ruled without mercy. Yet within its walls, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon defied every natural law. Towering palms swayed where cacti should have been. Vines spilled over balconies in a place that barely saw rain. The garden didn't just survive nature, it conquered it. This ancient wonder created its own climate. Water cooled the air. Trees provided shade. Walls retained moisture. Inside the garden, temperatures dropped nearly 10 degrees. Every tree was handpicked to thrive in Babylon's harshest months. High walls protected delicate plants from sandstorms. Wind was redirected through corridors to prevent damage. The sight shocked travelers. A rainforest in the middle of the Middle East. People thought it was magic, but it was pure design. This wasn't decoration. It was survival to this day. No other garden has been built in such extreme contrast. Historians call it a masterpiece of nature manipulation. The Hanging Gardens didn't just grow, they fought to exist. They stood as proof that even the most brutal environment can be tamed. That balance between destruction and beauty was its true wonder. But was this miracle ever real? Or is it a memory shaped by legend? No ruins have ever been found. No inscriptions. No physical trace of a garden. The city of Babylon was real, but the garden? It exists only in written memory. Greek historians described it centuries after it was said to be built. Not a single Babylonian tablet mentions the garden. Some believe it was never built in Babylon at all, but in Nineveh. Others think it existed only in the mind of poets. Archaeologists searched for decades, but found nothing and no foundations. No pipes. No signs of an artificial mountain. Why was it named an ancient wonder? Maybe it was real and destroyed by war or flood, or maybe it was political storytelling. A kingdom proving its greatness through myth. The truth still hides in the sand. The Hanging Gardens of Babylon remain the most debated wonder in history. Some call it ancient propaganda. Others call it lost genius. The only thing we know, it still captures imaginations. If it was real, it proved love could move mountains. If it wasn't, it shows how powerful stories truly are. Because even without proof, the world still believes. The Hanging Gardens of Babylon, an ancient wonder, a lost history, and perhaps a legend too perfect to fade.